Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Dayton. If this is your first time here, we extend a special welcome to you. Thank you for sharing this morning with us. Giving your reading and invocation this morning is myself, Lana, and our vigil holder today is Linza Smith. Myself and Sandy will be doing the interfaith lighting and candle. There you are, over there. That's good. Came a little late in there. The interfaith candle lighting reminds us of the many sources of wisdom and truth available to us from all the world's religious traditions. And just knowing that the time that they spend together is one of love, that they are absolutely blessed with God, that God is absolutely at the center and the core of all activity with the children's church, and knowing with the teachers that there's divine guidance and wisdom and love, and that they both are cultivating that love and peace and celebration and joy together in this day. And so together we say, and so it is. Amen. Okay, I think that's it. We're doing the candle lighting.
Is that what it is on the list?
I think so. Yep.
All right.
We're good.
The same.
All right, Sandy. We're up. Okay. The first candle is lit to honor Christianity. What does love look like? It has the hands to help others. It has the feet to hasten to the poor and needy. It has eyes to see misery and want. It has the ears to hear the sighs and sorrows of men. That is what love looks like. The second candle is lit to honor Judaism. If you want to raise a person from mud and filth, do not think it is enough to keep standing on top and reaching a helping hand down to the person. You must go all the way down yourself, down into mud and filth. Then take hold of the person with strong hands and pull the person and yourself out into the light. The third candle is lit to honor Buddhism. Happiness comes when your work and words are of benefit to yourself and others. The fourth candle is lit to honor Hinduism. Every selfless act is born from the eternal, infinite Godhead. God is present in every act of service. All life turns on this law. Whoever violates it, indulging its senses for his own pleasure and ignoring the needs of others, has wasted his life. But those who realize that God within are always satisfied. The fifth candle is lit to honor Taoism. The sage does not accumulate for himself. The more he uses for others, the more he has himself. The more he gives to others, the more he possesses of his own. The way of heaven is to benefit others and not to injure. The way of the sage is to act but not to compete. The sixth candle is lit to honor Sikhism. Without selfless service are no objectives fulfilled. In service lies the purest action. The final candle is lit to honor African traditions and religions. Guardianship is not to give in order, but to give one's self. Today's reading, this is by Ernest Holmes. The law, having no purpose of its own, having no intention of its own about us, is compelled to take the color of our dominant thought and create after that pattern. We, being persons, can change our thought and thereby remold our conditions. Indeed, this is the great realization of freedom. And to understand this is to understand how we may become released from bondage. You can just take these words into that sacred space within for a few minutes of contemplation. So how good it is to know that right where we are, God is, that we are absolutely anchored in this power and this presence of God that lives and breathes through us, as us, and around us, that we are absolutely freed from any type of bondage, that we are part of that power of love and light and energy. And how grateful I am to know that truth about each and every one of us, that this time together is absolutely blessed. It is in divine order. It is in divine right action with our children's church, with our music ministry, with our special speaker today. And so I know that every aspect is in divine order. It's all of peace and love and joy. And I give such thanks for all of this in this day. And together we say, and so it is. So today we have Terry McBride as our special speaker today. He has been working for almost 50 years to awaken people to their own power. When he was younger, he had an incurable, debilitating disease. He discovered the principles we teach here were while he laid in his hospital bed, and he used those principles to heal his body and his spirit. Since then, he has been teaching people how to tap into who they really are, how powerful they really are, how amazing their lives can be when they realize that. So please give me your
One of the things I like about Science of Mind is when you come up and sit on the front row, by the time you stand up to speak, there's a lot more people. How many of you have not heard me speak before? Raise your hand. How many of you have heard? How many of you don't care? We've got both of these on. I tend to move my arms around, so. I'm honored to be here, to stand in your presence. And I want you to know my intention this morning is not to tell you that you need to be different in any way. My intention is to remind you, to remind you of how magnificent you are and how much power you have and authority in this physical game we call human existence. Since there's this many people who haven't heard me before, I tell a little of my story. For those of you who have heard it, please enjoy it again. When I was 23, I had a spinal fusion. I hurt my back working construction in the summertime. During surgery, my spine got infected with the E. coli bacteria. E. coli is a bad bug. The only way you can get it out of bone is to cut it out. So over the next year, they did 5 surgeries to get rid of the infection, and every time they went in, it spread. And it spread, so they finally referred me to the University of Washington Medical Center in Seattle, a big teaching hospital. My orthopedic surgeon said, they got all the experts you need under one roof. So I went in there and became a real celebrity. I had the worst case of osteomyelitis of the spine, infection of the bone they'd ever seen. My doctor became this visiting professor from England. He was supposed to be the number 3 orthopedic surgeon in the whole world. The other professors didn't talk like that, but the interns and residents did. And this guy was kind of standoffish, from my opinion. Anyway, I could go on and on. He said, look, I don't want to go in and do this debridement, this cutting out procedure, until I know what's going on. So we're going to do tests to find out the extent of this infection. So they did tests for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. They poked me in places I didn't even know I had places. Finally, they got some good x-rays, and he says, we're going to come in tomorrow night and tell you what we're going to do, and the next morning we'll do this big debridement. So next night, my wife, 2-year-old baby, daughter, sitting in my room, and the door opened up about 6 o'clock, and in walked 6 surgeons. 6. And if it's good news, there's usually one person to tell you. And if it's bad news, they tell you by committee. The guy in the lead was this orthopedic surgeon from England. Behind him was the head of the Department of General Surgery, and behind him the head of the Department of Infectious Disease, and then the 3 top residents in those departments. This is what they said. The infection is spread. It's not just in the 2 vertebrae where the fusion was. The infection is up and down your spine. It's throughout your pelvic area. It's throughout your abdomen. It's followed both your sciatic nerves into your thighs. And we're pretty sure it's eating holes in the colon, so the lower end of your bowels are leaking back and forth. And if we don't stop this now, you will die. Doctors don't say that. They say, this has now become life-threatening, which means if we don't stop it now, you will die. At least that's how I took it. So tomorrow we're going to do the most extensive debridement we've ever attempted. First, the general surgeon is going to open you from the front. They're going to start as low as they can go down here in your pelvic area, come up around your belly button, and go almost up your sternum. We're going to open all of that up, cut out all the infected tissue, separate your organs out of the way, and when we get down to the spine, the orthopedic surgeons will chisel and scrape the infection out of your spine. When we're done with that, we're going to roll you over, and the orthopedic surgeons are going to start. They're going to start as low as they can go down here between your buttocks, come up mid-back, open all that up, cut out the infected tissue, chisel and scrape the infection out of your spine. When we're done with that, two teams of surgeons are going to start at your belt line and open up both your buttocks and follow your sciatic nerves into your thighs and clean that up. And when we're done with that, we're going to tip you up on the end and come in from the bottom. That one got my attention. They took about 35 minutes to tell me all that. Finally, this orthopedic surgeon from England sat down in a chair, pulled it up next to the bed, and reached out and took my hand. And that's when I knew I was in trouble, because this guy was not a touchy-feely doctor. He said, son, I know how radical this must seem, but we have to do this. We have to stop this now. When we're done with this debridement, we're pretty sure we can stop it from spreading anymore. We're also pretty sure you're going to lose the use of your left leg through nerve damage. And then he just looked at me. And I just looked at him. And he just looked at me. And finally I figured it must be my turn to say something. And I heard come out of my own mouth that that's okay. That's okay. If we've got to do this, let's just get this over with. But even as I said it, I thought, what has happened to me in 1 year that I would so willingly give up the use of my left leg? But I no sooner said that than he reached up with his other hand, clamped mine between his, and he said, son, we have to do this. But if it's as bad as we think it is, you're also going to lose some of the mobility of your right leg. You're probably going to lose the control of your bowels and your bladder. And there's a very good chance you're going to end up sexually impotent. That was 50 years ago in September, this month, just before my 24th birthday. When they left, and all those doctors, they're not negative. Some of them had tears in their eyes while they're telling me. They had kids at home. To come in and tell a patient, hey, look, there's nothing we can do. You're going to end up with a body that doesn't work. They had just reached the limits of their science. When they left, the resident who'd been with me for the 2 weeks of tests sat on my bed. My wife was on one side holding me, and he was on the other side. And I had my baby daughter in my arms, and they just held me until I quit shaking. And then the resident said, Terry, we don't know what's going to happen. We've never seen anything like this. We've never attempted anything this radical. But what we do know is you cannot expect to come out of this one whole. The name of my book is The Hell I Can't. I invite you this morning to get past the words if I use. If I use a concept or say something you're not familiar with, forgive me that. My intention here is to remind you of how powerful you are and how much authority you have on this physical plane we call human existence. They did that surgery the next morning and opened up my abdomen. They found the lower end of the colon was just chewed up. E. coli eats things, so they diverted my bowels. They pulled my bowels out, clipped them, and sewed them on my abdomen. I went to the bathroom in a plastic bag. They told me the chances of me getting well were 1,000,000 to 1. I would need a miracle. And then I would go to the bathroom in a plastic bag for the rest of my life because the colon could not heal. I'm going to be 74 in November. I ended up having 27 major surgical procedures. I had that infection for 11 years. I got letters from some of the finest doctors in the world to the insurance company saying what Terry McBride has is not curable. He will be left with significant permanent disability. His colon will not heal. He will always have a colostomy. At 74, I don't have a bad back. I'm not recovering from a bad back. I don't have a colostomy anymore because I healed my body. I know I'm pushy. But when I look in the mirror and see this magnificent 70-year-old male, perfectly healthy, I remember what it was like to be sick. I remember what it was like to have holes in and throughout my body where I was every morning had to put big Q-tips in so they wouldn't heal, so the pus could come out. You are magnificent. You are the essence of God, and everything else you make up. When I look in the mirror and see how healthy I am, I do not thank God. I do not thank law. I thank Terry McBride for using these principles on an ongoing basis, because as we read this morning, the law, this is Ernest Holmes talking. It isn't what many of us grew up with, that if you're going to have a miracle, it's up to something outside of you. What science of mind is about is if you need a miracle, it's up to you. This is what Ernest talks about. The law, the power of the universe responds with mechanical regularity, meaning you can count on it every time. It responds with mechanical regularity to the spontaneity of your thought. I was the one that created health where there appeared to be only disease. And that's not an ego statement. It's what we finally have to stand as human beings and own. The infinite power of the universe just says yes. But what I found in my journey, at first, when they said you need a miracle, the odds of you getting well are 1,000,000 to 1. They don't offer that kind of stuff. You have to push them into a corner before they say that kind of stuff. But as soon as they said you need a miracle, I went back to prayer. I was raised a Methodist. I wasn't real involved in it when I was in my 20s. But as soon as somebody says you're going to live in a body that doesn't work the rest of your life, you would need a miracle to get well, I went to prayer. Well, I'll tell you, at the University of Washington Medical Center, it was a long-term stay hospital. You didn't get in there unless you had something really bad. We had 30-day parties, 60-day parties, and 100-day parties, depending on how long you'd been in. So I'm praying. Well, there were a lot of people in there praying. And quite honestly, most of them went out of the hospital with bodies that didn't work, or they died. And a lot of those people were a lot more spiritual than me. They were real involved in their center. And so what I thought was, well, I must be praying wrong. So of course I went to the How to Pray books. My gosh, there must be 1,000 How to Pray books. You got to hold your palms up so you can be receptive. You got to have your feet flat on the floor so the energy from the Mother Earth can flow through you. Although if the God you seek is within, why are you doing that? Don't ask. Okay. You know, I breathe in through my nose, out through my mouth, raise my Kundalini energy, open my crown chakra. I ommed until my lips almost fell. And I still had the infection. Yes. And then I began to realize, as I really got into metaphysics, that the foundation for what we believe in science of mind, if you will. Now this is where, if I say it wrong, cut me some slack. But from my position, the foundation from science of mind were two. One, you're a spiritual being having a human experience. You're God expressing uniquely as woman. God expressing uniquely as man. Ernest says it just like that. And then the second principle is consciousness creates reality. Now, as I studied that, when it said consciousness creates reality, it didn't say prayer created reality. It didn't say treatment created reality. It said consciousness. And when I began to study what does it mean to me about consciousness, it was more than just praying for health. I had to begin to believe in health. And for me, that belief, as I was studying these marvelous various disciplines we talk about, as I was studying, for me, one of the simplest ways was in the Hindu teachings. And the Hindu teachings, they've been studying consciousness creates reality for 6,000 years. They got all kinds of wonderful stuff. But bottom line, what the Hindus talk about, if you will, loose summary here, is that the universe is run by something that the Hindus call creative mind. That's what it's translated. It's the same stuff we believe. And then they go further and they say each individual possesses a portion of this creative mind. And to take charge, this is from the Hindu thing, to take charge of your personal, that creative mind you have to take charge of your personal will and your image-making part of your brain, your mind. And when you begin to couple your personal will with your image-making part of the mind, you can choose a new consciousness. You can choose a new belief system. This is where Ernest is talking about in his book, this thing called you. He says, the mind is filled with accumulated doubts. It's, from the ages, but you don't have to worry because there is something within you, your personal will and your ability to make choices that can change all that and make it different. Now, the Hindus say that your personal will is made up of three things. First, it's your focus. What are you focused on? What they're getting about here is that the mind is always busy. It's always busy. And it tends to be busy with what it's been programmed to be busy about. And for me, my mind was busy on dealing with my disease. And I dealt with my disease better. I could control my blood flow some. I could control pain after surgeries. I can control all this. But as I began to study Ernest Holmes, Ernest says at one place, he says, he says that the real key in metaphysics is to begin to move to what you want instead of consistently dealing with what you don't want. And see, my start was the hell I can't. My stand was to say no to disease. Well, if my function in the morning, I get up and say, I'm going to say no to disease, then during the day I have to have disease continue in my face so I can say no to it. I said I was a fighter, so I always had something I needed to fight. I declared I was a survivor, so there was always something I needed to survive. Over and over, I got to prove I'm a survivor. And then one day it dawned on me, I don't want to do this. I need to change my focus. I need to, instead of spending my day dealing with my dis-ease, I need to begin to focus on creating health. See, that's what science of mind offers us. You can start right where you are and begin using these principles that we teach, these marvelous spiritual principles, to move to what you want. But the first game is, what is it you want? What is your focus? How do you want to wake up in the morning? How do you want to go to sleep at night? How do you want to relate to when you're with your significant other, the person that you love? How do you want to feel when you walk in the morning and turn on the bathroom light and look in the mirror instead of going, What if when you flip the light on, your automatic reaction was, ha ha, that's a basic God looking back at me. That's what focus is about. What do you want? When I walked into my first Science of Mind Center in Seattle, I picked up a brochure. I was already using these principles. I had read the books, Joseph Murphy, The Power of the Unconscious Mind, Think and Grow Rich, all those books. But the Science of Mind, the brochure said, Science of Mind is a correlation of the laws of science, the opinions of philosophy, the revelations of religion applied to human needs and the aspirations of mankind. My needs. Not some big pie-in-the-sky stuff. My needs. I wanted to go to the bathroom the way I used to go to the bathroom instead of in a plastic bag. And the psychiatrist in the hospital said, that's your ego talking. I said some fairly short 4-letter words and walked out the door. My Uncle Larry, who was my father image because my dad had died in the war, said, son, if something's important, it's also important you use strong language. Remember asking him why, and he said, I don't know, but the next time you smash your thumb with a hammer, shake it and say, oh golly, and see if it helps. Anyway, I digress. So the first thing that the Hindus talk about in taking charge of your creative mind is your focus. What are you focused on? When you wake up, what does your mind move to? Do you move to how much fun you're going to have that day, or all the challenges you're going to face? So the first thing is your focus. Second thing they talk about is your actions. What do you think you need to do? Not the big, what needs to be done. I mean, we go to our, I was in your lending library this morning. You go to most bookstores in metaphysical bookstore, and they got the list books. The 4 this, the 8 this, the 16 this, the 12 this, and every year they come up with a new list. That was me reading those prayer books. There was always something new on how to pray. The key about action from the Hindu's point of view is what do you believe you need to do? Because what they speak to is the power in action is not in the action, it's your belief about the action. So I needed, when I was sick, okay, I'm now moving towards health, but what do I think I need to do? Not all these wonderful books I've read, and certainly I got some great stuff out of there, but what do I think I need to move to? And then once I got that on paper, like a roadmap, I could look down on this and say, it might be possible, because that's where I started. It might be possible for me to be well. And I've had people say, well, you never get what might be possible. You have to say it's absolutely for sure, and that's great if you're in theory. But if you're in a hospital and they're taking you apart a piece at a time, so for me, the place to start was, it might be possible for me to be well someday. And I stuck with that for a year until one day I got, it is possible. Then I moved to, it's a journey. So the second thing is your action. What do you believe you need to do? And you're always a choice. Always get the choice. But once you have, this is my focus, on paper, because there are so many distractions today in our life with our phones, our tablets, our this or that. It's real easy that we're off focus. Just by the time we start thinking about something, the phone goes this, and you're with people at dinner, and they're having a conversation, and their phone buzzes, and they turn and look at their phone instead of still talking to you. Not that we would do that, but I'm sure you have friends. So the second thing was, what do you think you need to do? I'm reminded of Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity. When he was 93, one of his great talks that they have on a lot of pictures of him. At 93, he comes into the office and he says, I'm filled with zest and enthusiasm, and I move into my life today to do the things that need to be done by me. Not just prayer, but following through with the action you believe you need to take. And then the third thing they talk about in the Hindu stuff is that your thoughts. So the idea of taking charge of your personal will is take charge of your focus, your actions, and your thoughts. That when you bring all those together, what you have done is taken charge of your personal will. I know when I was first starting, I had trouble writing prayers. I had trouble writing affirmations. I had trouble writing treatments because I was trying to treat for something that was, in an abstract. But once I got, this is what I want, this is what I'm moving to, this is what I think I need to pay attention to, it was very easy for me to start to write affirmations or prayers or treatments that supported me doing what I thought I needed to do, because if I did that, I'd get to my chosen destination. So when I began to take charge, and it wasn't just this, it wasn't just, oh, I learned these 3 things and all of a sudden I got well. This is part of the game. But as I began to understand that I needed to take charge of my focus, my actions, what I was doing during the day, this is where Ernest Holmes says you've got to move your feet. You've got to support yourself with the actions that support your treatment. When I got all those in line, I had taken charge of my personal will. And then the fourth tool they talk about is taking charge of the image-making part of the mind. And that we call that visualization or guided daydreams. Again, I had trouble with just starting with visualization or daydreams because the book said you're supposed to visualize the end result without any concern how you're going to get there. That's nice in theory. But all day long I was in the hospital, I was at physical therapy, I had poking here and there, I had sticking things in places they shouldn't be sticking things, and for me to say, oh, I'm just wonderfully healthy, and I know the truth that I'm perfectly healthy right now. And I'm scheduled for surgery tomorrow morning. And so when I would try and visualize being perfectly healthy right now, I'd get these yeah buts. Well, if you're so healthy, why are you in the hospital?
Yeah.
How come you go in the bathroom in a plastic bag? How come you got these drains throughout your body? How come? But once I got my focus written down, my plan of action like a roadmap, and then I had my affirmations and treatments and my mental environment in conjunction with those, then it was easy for me to go daydream what I already had on paper. I could daydream that, you know, as I'm moving towards this goal, this is how it's working. And then the last one is Thanksgiving. But the great scriptures that I've read don't talk about giving thanks. You don't have to bribe God. You don't have to give thanks to God first or God won't support you. The law always supports you. You do not have to change for the infinite power of God to back up your belief systems. It already does. For me, Thanksgiving came not so much as giving thanks, but feeling thankful. Because the mind, this is the way the mind works. The mind doesn't feel thankful unless something's true. You might have anticipation, you might be excited, there might be all that, but the mind usually doesn't move into Thanksgiving until it's a done deal. So the idea of giving thanks first, that's in all of these great scriptures, is that if you can give thanks, feel thankful, your mind will take this, well, it must be true, otherwise I wouldn't be feeling thankful. So what I began to understand was that if I use these principles on a consistent basis, I can learn how to create reality. It didn't happen overnight. I had that infection for 11 years. And then even after I got rid of the infection, I had lots of physical challenges because of all the scars and all that stuff. It probably took me another 8 years to get perfectly healthy with no pain, no residual effect, no limitations. I don't know what's going on in your life. I don't know what your dreams are. My bet is there are people in this room that don't even remember what their dreams are. They're just busy doing what they've always done, what they've been, you know, what they're into. It's not, I'm not making anybody wrong. I'm trying to remind you that no matter what is going on, you have the right and the authority to use divine power to create a different reality. That's on page 100 of Living the Science of Mind from Ernest Holmes. You have the right and the authority to use divine power to make your dreams come true. And that's what this center is about. That's what Cece's about. I have known this woman since she was in prep training in Salt Lake City, Utah, with Donald Graves. I know what she, you know, her commitment to you, her commitment to using these principles and being an example. It's so you and I can come here as a spiritual family and support each other. No matter what's going on in our now, we support each other that we can create something different. That's what this center is about. It isn't about dying and going to heaven. It's about learning these principles, because what Jesus said is, behold, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's here and now. The heaven you and I seek is here and now, to wake up in the morning in joy. To look at yourself in the bathroom mirror when you step out of the shower, and instead of turning your head because you're embarrassed, to look at you and go, that's the essence of God. This is who I am. This is what we teach. That's what the classes are about. That's what the small groups are about. It's about us coming together and beginning to explore and own our own divinity and our authority on this physical plane. I've studied a lot of the different faiths. For me, I like that Jewish mystic who 2,000 years ago taught. Because I think what he brought to the party was this. You begin to experience your union with God through the quality of your human existence. This is what I think Ernest is getting at when he says you can only know as much as you can demonstrate. This center allows you to learn these tools and be supported in applying them. So you begin to understand that you are the divinity you have been seeking. You are the magnificence that awaits humanity. And together, we can do that. Their foundation class started last week. I know people who have taken a foundation class 3 or 4 times. Because every time they take it, it opens a new reality for themselves. And these are people who've taken a lot of the classes, but they take foundations again and again because it is the foundation for what we teach. You've got, on September 25th, you've got a meditation class. And what I love about it, there's many ways to do meditation. It's a moving, experiencing thing. When you learn how to do meditation, at first it's this, but after you do it for a year, it'll be different. It's a moving, growing thing. And the way Science of Mind teaches meditation is different than some. It's about you not only getting that quietness inside where you know the truth, but from there you get to step forth and create. And then you've got coming up October 8th, Bring a Friend Sunday. I found Science of Mind because a guy I lived in an apartment complex with while he and I were both going through our first divorces. We got to talking about this stuff. And then he said, why don't you come to my church? And it turned out he was the president of the board of the Seattle Church of Religious Science. I'd healed my colostomy by the time I found Science of Mind. But I did not believe I could heal the infection. But because I came with my friend into a room where people were not just talking on Sunday. The first Sunday they were talking about some of the similarities between the Christian scriptures and the Buddhist scriptures. But it wasn't just theory. People were taking notes. People afterwards we had lunch afterwards, they were talking about how to apply these principles. Can you imagine the gift that you might give someone if you had the audacity to invite them to your church? I don't know what you're going through. What I know is how magnificent you are and how much power and authority you have in this physical game we call human existence. And if you don't know that for yourself, I encourage you, get involved in this center. Get involved, volunteer, come to the classes, come early, help them set up the munchies. Stay late and help them do chairs. They let me do chairs in my church long before they let me speak. From the bottom of my heart, I'm honored to stand in your presence.
Thank you, Terry. So we're just going to go into affirmative prayer. If everybody can just recenter themselves, close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and exhale. And so I know that right where we are, God is. God is that power and that presence that lives and breathes through us, as us, and around us. It's at the very core of our soul. There is no way to be separate from this magnificent power that empowers us on a daily basis. It is that beauty that is within us and all around us. We are anchored in spirit every moment of every day. God is anchoring us. How good it is to feel and know this presence loves us more than anything, that we are surrounded by it, and being together in this collective consciousness of this infinite spirit that moves with us, as us, every moment of every day. And so I know that everything that was said, that it was absolutely in divine order. You've been here by divine appointment. Been here to hear those words, to inspire, to move you, to allow you to take forth action in your life, to have that empowerment within your own soul right here and right now. And I give such thanks for all of this, because it has just been magnificent. And I give such thanks for all of this good. I know that we are all whole and complete and perfect in every way, and that our life is unfolding in such tremendous and powerful ways right here and right now, as we continue to move our focus and our attention to what we do want, how we want our life to unfold in such magnificence, so that we can play bigger than we've ever played before. And so I know that it is absolutely the truth right now. And I give such thanks for all of this. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. And I know, and I release these words into law, knowing it is absolutely done. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.
I'm just a thread, a simple thread in this glorious web of life. We are all just drops within a stream, flowing towards an ocean of light. We may forget where we come from, we may forget where we're going to. I might not see that you're a reflection of me, as much as I'm a reflection of you. I am just a seed, a blessed seed with eternity unfolding in me. And I pray that as I grow, I will reveal the love that illuminates my soul. When I remember where I come from, when I remember where I'm going to, then I will see that you're a reflection of me, as much as I'm a reflection of you. This is my simple prayer. May I become a reflection of the infinite one. This is my simple prayer. May I become a reflection of the infinite one. This is my simple prayer. May I become a reflection of the infinite one. simple prayer. May I become a reflection of the infinite one.
Now is our time for joyous giving. We now have an opportunity to generously serve with our money, our spiritual community. We give from the divine within to that divine in each other. So let's take a moment to be grateful for all that we have and all that we receive here and elsewhere in our lives. To count our blessings. And from that gratitude, take your gift in your hands or your heart and affirm with me. I am joyful.
I am joyful.
I am free.
I am free.
I am grateful.
I am grateful.
I give with gratitude.
I give with gratitude.
And I say yes to all the good
And I say yes to all the good
life has to offer.
life has to offer.
And so it is. Yay. All right. Also, Terry would like to, we're going to do announcements, and Terry wanted to talk about his workshop for this evening.
So I'm going to do a workshop tonight, 5 to 8. It's $25 for one, $40 for two, and if you can't afford that, you come anyway, you pay whatever you can. But the title of the workshop is Create a New Reality for Your Life. And what I'm going to show you in that workshop in 3 hours, how to find what you want, how to get on track with what you think you need to do, how to support yourself with that mental environment, the affirmations or treatment, and how to use your image-making part of the brain. So that when you walk away from tonight, you will absolutely know how you can create belief, how you can create knowing. It's a powerful workshop. I've also got some of my books over there. We're selling today for just $20 instead of $23.95. And if you get one, I would be happy to sign it. And I want to congratulate you for what you have here. I mean, I walked in this morning and I could tell who you were before you ever showed up. You're doing a great job. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. So on your bulletin cover is a tear-off form that will tell us how to stay in touch with you. If you're new or if your information has changed, please fill it out. It is, I think I ripped half of mine off, but anyway, it's on one of these. Here we are.
It's on the album.
It's on the outer one.
Yeah.
So this, yeah. So take it off, put it over there at the Welcome Center, I believe, and that way we will know who you are and get information to you. I think Terry talked about some of these classes that were coming up. Thank you for that little, thing there. That's good. We have fall classes coming up, Foundations on Tuesday evening. The second class will be on September 26th, and you can still get into the class if you attend this Tuesday. Starting tomorrow, September 25th, Linda Andriaca will be offering a meditation class on Thursdays. Sign-up sheets are on the bulletin board. I believe they're over there by the Welcome Center. Please sign up so we can prepare class material for you. Our fall bonfire party is coming up on October 14th. Last year we had about 50 people join us for the potluck. S'mores, gourd, I don't know what that is, gourd and pumpkin decorating, and of course Gary Victor's campfire stories, which are always, I went just briefly, but it was good. It was fun. We had a good time. We walked around and stuff. Invite your friends. It's a great way to introduce them to your community. Also, it is, there's way too many papers up here. This is September, all the September birthdays. I can't believe this is like the last weekend of September, right? I'm like, what? I don't know. So I'm going to go through each one of these. So Jennifer Bristol, Tammy Kaysen, Mark Coltrane, Kathy Green, Mary Huser, Dwight King, Rachel Richter, Gordon Robinson, Louis Dean Tuck, Alicia Wadden, Colin Widener. If I've messed these names up, I apologize. If there's anybody that is not on here, please let the office know so that we can celebrate you. There's cake. There's also a picnic back there, potluck. It's not a picnic. Okay, it's a potluck. There's food back there, so please join us after. Okay, so then take a look at the mini flyers at the last page of the bulletin. Insert for the calendar of upcoming events. There's really good stuff happening there. If you would like prayer, of course, after service, our licensed practitioners would love to pray with you. Just look for the people with the white or teal shawls, prayer shawls on. The practitioners are very good at saying spiritual truth about you. Their gift to you on Sunday is a minute miracle of prayer. You can also put a written prayer request in the prayer box on the table, and we'll pick it up after service. Please do that. I'm telling you, I'm the one who's in charge of that. And it's interesting because we don't have as many prayers coming in. I don't know what that is about, but we're here to pray for you guys. So please put those prayer requests in. Please call the prayer line, and not everybody calls anymore, I think. We don't have a texting line, sorry. I guess I could put mine on there, I don't know, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, but after the first 3 minutes after service ends, don't talk to anybody else you know well. Find someone you don't know well and start a conversation, and don't forget to get at least 10 hugs before you leave. Thanks to everybody who's made this morning's service possible. For our ushers, greeters, practitioners, the welcome team, the Higher Mind Band, and you and Terry, of course. Thank you, thank you.